One final wish. Lahabred would speak further of Athena's fates. The vision you saw told the story far more eloquently than I ever could. Athena was consumed by her research and was willing to sacrifice her own child if it hastened her progress. She did not offer him a position here out of a sense of love or pride, just merely because she knew he was the most pliable test subjects. I see now why you hid the truth from him. I cannot say with certainty that Eucthonius could handle the weight of such betrayal after holding his mother on a pedestal for so long. Unfortunately, it seems not even her death has ensured his safety. Hephaestus has taken up Athena's research and succeeded in creating Hemithoi. And I know not what his ultimate end is, but it is plain it is connected with the resurrection of Athena. That knowledge alone is sufficient to direct our next course of action. As for the rest of your story, we shall hear it after we have returned Eucthonius to safety in accordance with I can't pronounce the name. Adjistis? Last wish. I will be really interested to find out exactly how that is supposed to be pronounced. In fact, is it? That's not how you spell it. Adjistis. Adjistis is a deity of Greek, Roman, and Anatolian mythology. It's also a type of moth. Does not tell you how to pronounce it. Though it does tell you how to spell it in ancient Greek, which is super helpful. Thanks, Wikipedia.
Pronouncenames.com.
Agdistis.
Agdistis. Apparently. Don't know whether that was picked up on the Agdistis. Very well. I can at least assure you that finding him shall prove relatively simple now that Hephaestus can no longer bend Pandæmonium to his will. There's but one place left for him to find refuge, the Black Heart of Tartarus, where Athena built her testing compound. We can assume that Hephaestus will offer fierce resistance. I must focus my every effort on securing a safe means of approach. We are nothing if not predictable. La Brea, I'd ask that you assume the duty of summoning Demajen's phantom warriors. I have no objections. My ability to fight within Tartarus would be greatly diminished in any case. Ooh. Yes. However, I wish to deal the final blow to Hephaestus myself. There is no need to dirty your hands with such a deed. I take it then that you have no intent to seal him away as before? The presence I felt when I encountered Hephaestus bore little resemblance to the entity I created. By his own hand he has become something far more wicked, and the same magics that once shackled him may very well shatter before the power he wields. On my pride as a researcher, I am loath to repeat the same mistake twice. I would not see these events play out again, and so he must be extinguished. Well then, I shall open the way forward. May we finish this together. Best accepted in a shiny way. Abyssos, the 8th circle, now accessible. I like the fact that he's still got the effect on him. Okay. Stygian insenescence. Is that a word? I don't think that's a word. Insenescence. If Hephaestus truly means to continue Athena's research. Wow. That Q-timer though. And this is why I don't mind playing DPS in FF14. Because it's not like a 30-minute wait, as it often is in some games. I mean, yeah, in the middle of the night, maybe. But around now, with new content, it tends to be quite quick. What are we going to have to face here? We're going to face off against Eric or what? Light party? Full party? Oh, Hephaestus.
Ericthonios is mine.
A bit of voice acting for the final phase.
And with your death, none will be left to stop me.
I assume we're going to make him retreat. Perfect imperfection. Hephaestus. Okay. Oh, you are hideous, mates. Bringing in the Frankenstein imagery to go with Dracula from last time. Hey all! First time here. Battle commencing!
Rest eternal in the dark depths of this prison.
Okay, so we've got some... We've got some grids. We've got some fire around the base. Base? Edge?
Fulgent flame my servants rise. Out of my sight.
I couldn't actually tell what he was doing then.
In your wake. Let sheep sorrow into your heart.
That's not very clear what he's actually doing.
A fitting death.
After the excellent telegraphing of the Furious fight, that's not very well telegraphed at all, frankly.
Behold the fruits of sacrifice.
Ooh. Okay. You have become pretty.
You know my rage.
What? Yeah, something tells me this fight was made by a very different team. Well, I'm taking silly amounts of damage because I've got multiple Vun stats. No, I haven't. I'm just on fire.
Perish in flame's embrace.
Right, in the middle, one assumes.
Go forth and sate your boundless hunger.
I don't think the music's as good as the previous fights. I assume everybody else here has done this before, for the fact that nobody's messed up the mechanics except me.
Out of my sight.
Well, that was great. Didn't give me a chance.
I shall see my wish fulfilled.
Right, it's got a lovely.
You are prey to be consumed.
Oh, these are ads. Okay. Ectothermos. Got really cool animations on him.
Sear flesh from bone.
Right, volcanic torches. I'm just going to follow everybody else for that.
Leave naught but ash in your wake.
Why was I the only person to die to that?
Death.
Again, the telegraphing on the tree fight was nice. This is just... It's not clear what's going on.
Behold the fruits of sacrifice. You will know my rage.
He seems to just be standing here, so... Yeah, so I guess we just want to stack in the middle and be ping-ponged around.
Who's praying before a god?
Got really cool animations though. I know morphing between stuff like that is quite difficult to do.
Perish in flame's embrace.
Fourfold fires. Alright, that's this.
Go forth and sate your boundless hunger.
Right, and we want to be away from those. Yeah, I figured that much out.
From fulgent flame my servants rise.
I'm not enjoying this fight.
I tire of this farce.
Just I was going to say, leave me dead so I can actually try and pay attention to what's going on.
I shall see my wish fulfilled. You are prey to be consumed.
Okay, and that's everybody dead for reasons that are unclear.
Leave ash in your wake. Let's seep sorrow into your heart.
I don't know. I like fights with nice, obvious telegrams. You know, stuff that you can figure out what is going on.
Rest eternal in the dark depths of this prison. From fulgent flame my servants rise. Out of my sight!
Yeah, that's really unclear. I assume it's always the same though. So it's center than sides.
A fitting death.
I guess. Don't know. This music's definitely a step down from the
Behold the fruits
previous
of
ones.
sacrifice. You will know my rage.
That's not a very easy mechanic to sort out either.
Perish in flame's embrace. Go forth and sate your boundless hunger.
Okay, I've got that sorted. And this one is... yeah.
From fulgent flame my servants rise.
Right, this is Phoenix, so this is Edges.
I tire
Yeah.
of this farce.
Yeah, so it's got nothing to do with the direction, it's just... this is what he's using. Phoenix's Edges, Serpent's Middle.
I shall see my wish fulfilled. You are prey to be consumed.
Nope. Well, at least I haven't died anywhere near as often in this one. So that's something. Famous last words.
Sear flesh from bone.
Okay, so this you wait until you figure out which direction it's going. Going that way, so we go this way. Back to the center so we can move. And this way.
Leave naught but ash in your wake.
That's
Out of
center.
my sight. Behold the fruits of sacrifice.
This is the big guy.
You will know my rage. Who praying before a god?
You can keep on talking, Hephaestus, and I suspect you probably will, but... in all honesty, I think the tree fight was a much more interesting fight than this. But I do like the...
Perish in flame's embrace. Go forth and sate your boundless hunger.
Uh-huh. Ah, shit.
From fulgent flame my servants rise.
Oh, shit!
Let's seep sorrow into your heart.
Why was I not safe there? Did I move too slowly? I guess I moved too slowly, I don't know.
I shall see my wish fulfilled.
That didn't seem to do a lot.
You are prey to be consumed.
Probably because I'm weakened. I suppose I didn't die there. Probably should have died there. Died there instead. Yeah, whatever. Not a massive fan of that fight. I think the tree fight was better, frankly. The music didn't help. So the weird thing is, I like, you know, those individual pieces of music. I just didn't think that was as fun to fight to. Yeah, it was alright. Ooh, a minion. Looks like I'm gonna have to do this again. Woo, excitement. Yeah, that just wasn't a very fun and engaging fight. There were too many what the hell killed me moments, and you know, why did I die? And nah, whatever. The chain of events that led to this moment began with my error. When out of mercy I confined you here. Now I break it and leave no trace of you behind. This is not over. I see you will not go peacefully. Eric. Even a cast-off would uphold his pride, and there's such an impulse must speak to the overwhelming arrogance of my other half. The name Hephaestus shall grow to eclipse yours. None shall remember the deeds of Lahabrea once I fulfill Athena's ambition and bring Erycthonus' dream to life. You speak as if you care a whit for the boy. Why then do you cower behind him? There are some desires which must not be realized. Athena would see the world destroyed if it meant she could find hers in the ruins. As for Erycthonius, he knows not what his wish would beget, a truth which you have hidden from him. Do you truly believe a father's role is to deceive and manipulate? Why does he keep desaturating? Is it something to do with the lighting around here? My wish. You would claim the name of Hephaestus and call yourself his father, yet you blind his mind and body in dark chains. Your words and your pride ring hollow. Athena wanted her son by her side, and he desires to return there. What wickedness is there in mending a broken family? Athena cared naught for Eric, beyond how he could serve her ends. You claim to be acting his interest, but 'tis plain you are no different. Oh, it's the things on the floor that are lighting up. As I ushered Athena to her end, I vowed that my sole mission in life would be to guide this star true. In service to that vow, I silenced the whispers of my heart. I could not nurture a son whilst an entire world looked to me for guidance. For that choice, I bear the responsibility. Yet he is still my son, and I'll not suffer you to seduce him with false hope. You who are naught but the bitter dregs of Athena and I, the very worst of us. Mother? She... No, then, who... How do I... Hearken to your hearts. Power of friendship. I hear you. I owe you and Themis an apology. Athena, did you ever... And Lahabrea, I will have my say. Smash! What? How? His mind was mine. I can't explain. Demajen's words reach me through the haze. Because I am inspiring. They rang loud and clear. As did the words of another, in a voice much like yours, but resounding with truth. I have the power! How? When did you master these bonds? Oh, we've endured much worse. Little help? You worthless... You... The chains of La Brea. There's that red crystal. As I speculated. Ugh. And technically it doesn't explain the reason for the crystal's existence. It appears my failures have borne fruit after all. Yeah, so this is the twin of La Brea's crystal, I guess. Yoink. A soul crystal or a memory crystal or whatever they You did well, son. Don't smile at him. Think about what you did to Thancred. Oh, wait, it's Thancred. Where are we? Well, indeed. We're in a really cool place that I'm going to remember to take a screenshot of. Oh. I wondered for a moment why the symbol had disappeared from his head. I'm very stupid. With Hephaestus' essence... Should I try that again? With Hephaestus' essence contained in this crystal, we may safely return Ericthonius above, as he would bind Hephaestus with only half his senses intact. He quite understated his adeptness in the art of interment, which is hardly what I had in mind, but a feat preserving of praise nonetheless. Truth imperfect. All the materia. So much materia. I feel no trace of Hephaestus' poison in your mind, and for a blessing it appears your body is none the worse for wear. Oh, hi, Elidibus. I made my way here as soon as I could. I no longer sense Hephaestus, and the force assailing Pandæmonion's barriers has ceased. Are we rid of him for good and all? No, because we've still got another raid tier. There's more to it yet. I see. Despite his muddled senses, Eric felt that to seal Hephaestus away was the proper course. It wasn't so noble as that. I only knew something had to be done, so I acted. La Brea. Was that how you dealt with Hephaestus in the past? Indeed. He was naught but the parts of my memory and soul that I had cut away. A mass of ether without a material vessel. Storing his essence within a crystal was the most logical course. On that matter, I believe the time has come for you to share the rest of your tale, of Hephaestus' creation and Athena's end. I heard your words, but only vaguely, as if from under the surface of a deep pool. My mother wished to use me? I would hear the whole truth. I want to know what happened here and what drove Athena to act as she did. I'm ready. Is La Brea ready? Athena's brilliance outshone us all. Even the other members of the Words of La Hebrea was children in comparison. So dedicated to research was she that it was not unheard of for her to forget meals or even sleep. Her mind was ever grasping for knowledge, and it was in this endless search that she became obsessed with uncovering the secrets of life. You see, while we can conceive life in various forms, the means of creating a soul are beyond our ken. Similarly, though we can enhance and alter our physical vessels, we have ever been bound to them. Athena's purpose was to shatter these limitations. Such limitations as we were not meant to surpass. She sought to enter the realm of the gods. Scarce few have the ability to comprehend what such a task entails, let alone the courage to attempt it. For most, the thought would be an idle fancy, considered once and then discarded. Not so for Athena. Goddess of wisdom, ironically. Well, and war, I suppose. As leader of the Words of La Hebrea, I spoke with her often about transcending our being. From an academic perspective, the challenge has plagued countless researchers through the ages. It was during these musings that I began to formulate a theory, a means by which a person could meld with a creation. The weaknesses of one would be mitigated by the strengths of the other, and the result could be something greater than we have ever imagined. Is that like the prime thing that he did with What's-Her-Face in Heavensward? Although it was but a theory, Athena insisted I develop it further, curious about every detail along the way. Our conversations became more frequent, and our platonic relationship grew into something much more. I take it I was born not soon after. Just so. I believe she bore true affection for me and was blind to her hidden intentions. When Pandæmonium was built and she requested to lead the researchers, I saw no reason to deny her. Even setting aside our relationship, her accomplishments as a scholar made her the obvious choice. However, in giving her Pandæmonium, they also gave her free rein to conduct whatsoever experiments she could devise. And when you found out what she was doing, you killed her. I made haste to Pandæmonium the moment I learned of these hidden chambers. I left Agdistis to keep watch from Tartaros's vestibule as I ventured deeper, knowing not what would await me. As for what occurred next, it is best to see with your own eyes. Oh? Is that me? Yep. Nod. You are well aware that out of respect for our neighbours in Elpis, the researchers of Pandæmonium are not to be masked. Yet you stand before me with your face covered. What petty defiance is this? But indeed, so quick you are to rebuke me, though you yourself have not set foot in these halls since their inception. You must have known you could not conceal this from myself and Agdistis forever, as well as you know that I cannot allow it to continue. I shall say this but once. Release Erechthonios, else I shall have no choice but to strike you down. You may strike me down, Darth. I would meet my ends at the hands of none other. However, ere my time is come, I will have you know the why of it. Then you will not desist. Once you understand what has driven me this far, you shall see that stopping was never an option. The feelings of one weigh little against the needs of the entire star. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. Of course, of that I am well aware. But you did not deign to descend from your lofty heights simply to lecture me as you would a child. You have an interest in my motivation, What possessed Athena, peerless researcher and mother to the son of the great La Habrea, to embark upon the path to her downfall? History will demand an answer, but it is you who deserves one. Give me your hand, La Habrea, and we shall know what... I didn't press anything. Impossible. Impossible. You bonded your souls? Aye. That the boundaries between us should cease to be. She offered me everything, to be understood. I found myself unable to refuse. At that moment my mind was a storm of questions, yet one roared the loudest. Did Athena ever truly love me? I am become thee, memory and mind. So is this why his soul is weaker? As well as all the body hopping that he does? And I thee. Can you feel it? My heart, all that I am. Yes, as if it were my own. A fathomless desire to dissect the mysteries of life, to transcend our mortal flesh and bleed into a higher plane of existence. An unquenchable thirst for knowledge, not a single thought spared for another, for the star. How disappointing. Yet what is known cannot be unknown. You have beheld my life's work. Try as you might to excise the memory, the seeds of desire remains, and when it takes root, you too shall be consumed by the self-same fervour. I will dig it out. I will dispense with the corruption in my soul ere your rotten insight spreads. So that's why Hephaestus is created. 'Twas my weakness that let this wickedness fester, but never again. Today I cast aside fickle emotion and abide in duty alone. Today I renounce all that I was, and live only as La Habrea. That's the half symbol, yeah. So that's why he only has half the mask in some of the art. And one of the cutscenes, ages ago, I think. Thus did I forsake the part of myself that had been polluted by Athena, sealing it within a crystal. Never did I think I would one day face those memories made flesh. Forgive my bluntness, but your actions bordered on insanity. To go to such lengths to escape your memories, you nearly rewrote your very existence. Rest assured, the change did not go unnoticed by our colleagues in the convocation. Igiom and Selk in particular made plain the suspicions they harboured. It's Igiom he bonds with, isn't it, in Heavensward? As well they should have. That you escaped with your life was nothing short of a miracle. Why didn't you destroy the crystal then and there? Did you think to one day make use of the knowledge it contained? I will not deny such considerations played into my decisions, but my main motivation was fear. I had never attempted such a feat before. The crystal was my sole recourse, should something go awry with the remainder of my soul. In hindsight, to cling to it was a mistake born of doubts. Athena must have anticipated that I would resort to such measures and prepared a vessel beforehand that would accept the dregs of my soul. Hephaestus doubtless believed he was performing his duty as a husband and father should, yet in truth he was but a puppet being pulled to and fro by Athena's desires. His goal was not to raise himself high. He thought only of seeing his dear Athena live again that she might finish what she began. Yet for all of that, he and I were alike. We yet shared a fatal flaw, you see. A need for control blinded us to other perspectives. While I was in thought, Hephaestus, you called out to me. What say you now? Does Labrea speak true? Sounds like it. And now it's your turn to do the same. I just want to know one thing. Did you truly believe that hiding the truth was best for me, even knowing how I felt about my mother? The Labrea I know had a fatal flaw after all. I'm still not convinced. I have said all that I can say. Now it is for you to choose to believe me or not. The Labrea I know holds duty above all else. I would sooner prostrate myself before an erupting volcano than place my fickle emotions in his path. When you return to the surface, you'll doubtless don that mask once more. So, before we climb out of this forsaken pit, I suppose I should say... Thank you, Hephaestus. But there is still another raid tier, right? I assume there's some kind of clone of Athena or something, pulling strings in the darkness. Quest accepted. I'd forgotten that that was the first cutscene of the quest. Hephaestus was far more than an imitation of Labrea. It was quite literally a part of him. But Labrea to me is a man who thinks of naught but his duty. By casting aside the burden that Hephaestus represented, he shall become evermore himself, in a way. I've said all that needs to be said. From this moment forward, I pledge that my heart shall not lead me astray. I've heard enough. There is more yet to discuss, but we should first return to Pandemonium's gates. I'll gather my thoughts on the way. This story is an odd one. I'm finding myself very, very torn on it. Some bits are nicely written and intriguing, and some bits are just stretched. And I find myself sometimes caring and sometimes not. I owe you an apology. It was due to my inexperience that Hephaestus was so easily able to take hold of my mind. I also owe you thanks. If you and Themis hadn't chosen to brave the chaos occurring in Pandemonium, then I would never have known Labrea's story, my father's story. It was a tale I too was fascinated to hear. I very much look forward to speaking with Azim upon my return. I cannot help but wonder how much of this she foresaw. I'm afraid I cannot allow that, Elidibus. So long as you retain control of Pandemonium, there is work to be done. Oh, but of course. I shall first free the remaining warders and restore this place to its former glory. Using the facilities in Tartaros, we should be able to reverse the changes made to their bodies and minds. I shall stay behind to oversee the process. That's well. But I must yet learn why I was considered the key to Hephaestus' experiments and how he intended to revive Athena. So that's going to form the final act of the trilogy. Such questions are best left unanswered. In fact, I forbid the pursuit of that knowledge. The boundary between man and creation shall never again be crossed. And I intend to destroy the crystal containing Hephaestus' essence that this mistake never again repeats. But he doesn't, which is what Thingy in the future is going to find. I see no reason to gainsay your judgment. There is yet the matter of your crystal, however. Truth be told, I had not considered its origin until I saw the one containing Hephaestus' ether. I was struck by how wholly different they were. My crystal? Oh yeah, we took it right at the start of the first tier, didn't we? While imbuing a crystal with memories is a simple process, storing a message, a warning even, would be something altogether more complex. This also means that someone besides the present company and Azem was aware of the plot unfolding within Pandemonium. Then, why would they not make themselves known even now? No threats remain. Perhaps it was one of the other warders. We shall question them after they are freed. There is more to the mystery. That task may take some time, probably about 6 to 8 months or so. A resource I'd rather not steal more from you. Return at your leisure, we shall share our results then. You've done more than enough for the time being. I am of the same mind. Leave the loose ends to us and continue upon your journey, or if you are so inclined, take a much-needed repose. This talk of journeys smacks of Azem. As well it should. She has pledged to keep moving until she has seen every corner of the world. If you do find yourself with a spare moment, you might bring that crystal of yours to La Habrea. You may be able to offer further insights. Until then, my friend. Where is the crystal? Where have you put it? The crystal that hangs from Eric's waist was a gift from me, made in the hopes that it would spark a growth in his aptitude for magic. It is plain he no longer requires it, but I see no reason he cannot wear it for a while longer. What a training crystal. I look forward to your returning with the crystal, but worry not, I shall try my level best to stave off loneliness while you are gone. As you may have noticed during a battle, La Habrea's mask crowns me when I've transformed. It is said that we manifest in a way that reflects our innermost selves. I had thought that mask a symbol of the chains that bound my heart, but recent events have caused me to reconsider that assumption. I actually didn't notice it crowning him at all. Or maybe I did and I've forgotten. It's quite possible. Right, let us return to Rusino on Hippo. Why, if it isn't Demajen, excuse me if I'm not my usual chipper self, but we have not been without our difficulties in your absence. You see, communication with the airship Professor Claudian commissioned for his search was lost some time ago, and now we have quite lost track of where he might be. Shocking. And to make matters worse, Mjiji has just sent word of an unusually large amount of energy coming from somewhere within the ethereal sea. I was just on my way to the Aetioscope, in fact. Please, you must come with me. There's going to be a bridge. Oh. What? What is that? Is it real? That is Pandemonium. Why is it that whenever danger visits the world, you are never far behind? Oh, hi. Because I'm a hero. It's what we do. And you two, Professor Claudian's assistants, I take it? As you arrived before me, I take it you are involved in this. I'd thank you to furnish me with an explanation. Well then. That I was not expecting. That's a nicely done twist. Well done, writers. But why would it be here? While the research summary you submitted to the forum gave us no cause for concern, these details are alarming. The Professor's last message indicated he was on his way to Aziz's Law, but we know not whether he ever reached his destination. Why was he going to Aziz's Law? A rash endeavour, even for Claudian. He was ever allowed the thrill of discovery to cloud his better judgments. We have no recourse but to entreat Ishgard's aid in search for him. As for that unsightly fortress which materialised in the ethereal sea, Pandemonium, was it? It cannot be left alone. It probably should be left alone. For the time being, information regarding this matter must be strictly controlled so as to minimise panic. We will gather those with knowledge of the ethereal sea and continue monitoring it for further irregularities. Yusu, submit a detailed report to the forum at once. At present, we have far more questions than answers. Nevertheless, I would ask for your assistance at such a time that our investigation has concluded. Very good. Now, if you'll excuse me, I must apprise the forum of what has happened here. Occurred here. Just preempting what it was saying. Just when we need him the most, Professor Claudian remains unaccounted for. He even brought the crystal with him. We're left with scarce few straws to grasp at. While I am but a lowly assistant, even I can see that our two current problems are likely related. The same party or phenomenon may be responsible. May be responsible? That's a rare typo. For both. Conversely, I see now that my unexperienced imagination failed to do Pandemonium's pitiless spires justice. I can only wonder if the facility itself traversed the ages, did the creations within do the same? What of the keywords? But answers to these questions shall come in time, I am sure. For now I must do as Master Fortuno asked and write that report. As for you, Demajen, pray get what rest your responsibilities will allow. When next we call upon you, I wager we shall need you in prime condition. Yeah, prime condition, me. Well, that did take an interesting twist at the end. An interesting twist indeed. I'd just like to end this look at the Abyssos tier by it's a bit extra. It's a bit much. It's very Dragoon as opposed to very Reaper. I know that they share the same gear, maiming. But I can't help but wish that it was a little bit less plate armor. Nice that we actually get to stick our ears in it, though. It'd be weird. There's so little gear that actually works on Viera heads. I just don't like it. I like the concept of it, but I don't think I'd ever wear this. I think I'd glamour over it straight away, which is a shame because I do quite like the weird ring. But I think it's a bit much for Final Fantasy gear. So whilst it will be, I mean, some of the other armor's interesting. I mean, the fending stuff is pretty much the same, but it's a nicer color. The striking one's got quite cool. The scouting stuff, I think, is probably my favourite. I like the scouting version. If we try on all the bits of scouting. See, that is what I think the Reaper version should look like. Have I missed off the gloves from there? Yes. You know, that looks more Reaper-y to me. More protective, but cloth or leather. You know, see, that looks cool as well. That's the casting version. I like the helmet on that, although it's clearly burning our ears. The healing version. Again, really nice colour use. Very interesting to see a healer set that is dark. Because obviously the healer sets tend to be quite bright. But yeah, I prefer the fiery shoulders to the big purple ring on the back. Realistically. I just think it is a bit much. So yeah. And I like the weapons. Annoyingly, the weapon vendor isn't in yet. There's no weapons tab. As far as I know. Because I'd like to see what the Reaper's scythe looks like. Though, to be fair, they might be in the game. It's possible that they're in the files and that somebody has, you know, already found a way of model swapping them in. Whether I'd ever get it or not is another matter entirely, because it would involve me doing Savage, and, you know, that's not likely. Thoughts then on the second tier of Pandemonium. Let's go through them. So the fifth circle was the Proto Carbuncle, a nice, straightforward fight in an interesting arena. I enjoyed it. The sixth circle was Venom, essentially. Great music, really good music, solid fights. Don't think I had any massive issues with that, though it was a couple of hours ago now, so I've probably forgotten. The seventh circle was my favourite fight, but I'm not necessarily looking forward to doing it again because of how mechanically heavy it is. You know, in a couple of weeks' time, when more people have got used to how it works, yeah, I think it'll be a fairly easy fight to get through. The eighth circle I just didn't enjoy. You know, the first round I died so many times, and that's fair enough. You know, I'm not having to go at the fight for me dying. That's me not knowing the mechanics. I was getting better at it the second time, but in comparison to the seventh circle, I just don't think it was as interesting or well telegraphed a fight. I don't know. What do you guys think? If you've done the latest 4 circles, the Abyssos ones, which were your favourite fights? Which, you know, am I? Well, I mean, I can't be wrong about my opinion on the 8th circle because it's my opinion. That's how opinions work. But if the fight versus Hephaestus was your favourite, why did you enjoy that one? And likewise, what did you think of the music for that fight? Because I preferred the music from the previous ones, frankly, which is unusual because the fourth circle fight versus Hesperus, the music for that was amazing. There were lots of bits in the music for the Hephaestus fight that I like, that is from music that I actually like. It's just that after the music of the 6th and 7th circles, it was actually, in my opinion, a little bit of a step down. Yeah. Yeah. Why have I had the reward for that? Oh, that's the blade, isn't it? Yeah. Right, I now need to go and do the 5th and 8th circles again. Yay. 5th circle, fine with, but yeah. 8th circle, yeah. If I do, or when I do, manage to get that, I'll put some extra footage on of me in the shiny purple thing before I glamour over it. Maybe it'll grow on me. Maybe. I don't know. Hopefully you've enjoyed watching this little series of Demajen does Abyssos. An interesting storyline, but a little bit stretched, in my opinion. I feel like it could have been condensed a little bit. Don't know. Let me know your thoughts down below. If you did enjoy the video, please leave a thumbs up down below. Subscribe for more. Ring the little bell to be notified whenever new content goes live on the channel. Leave a comment telling me your favourite fights and which of the pieces of music was your favourite. If you thought it was a shit video and you hate it and so on and so forth, leave a comment down below as well, because the algorithm needs feeding and it loves ether. Until next time, folks, stay safe out there. Have a fabulous day. Cheerio. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, why not click the like button and consider subscribing. Remember, you can ring the bell notification icon to get notified when new videos go live. And until next time, cheerio.